from the Matt Morse Digital Studio here in Fresno, California. This is the Beem and Dean Show, episode 74, with the sports director of KSEE24, CBS47, and the voice of the FPU Sunbird, Scott Bemis. I'm Dean Schiro. Scotty, crazy day yesterday as we do this show on a Thursday. Sharon Moore fired for cause at Michigan. Without going into too many details and not knowing all the situation, but huge rumblings in the Big Ten. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this kind of came out of nowhere, and then the story just kind of got weirder and weirder, a little stranger and stranger as the day went on. Yeah, fired apparently for having an inappropriate relationship with a staffer, and then, word circulating later in the day too that he had been detained by police and maybe facing an assault charge of some sort.
Correct.
So just a kind of a weird situation, and yeah, Michigan now looking for a new head coach as they prepare to play Texas in a bowl game.
They are, right. And honestly, there were rumors and innuendo that were kind of floating to the surface after the Ohio State game about possible infidelity, but this thing kind of just hit yesterday fast and furious. Was it a hoax? Was it not? And then we got confirmation from the school. Yeah, there's just a lot to unpack there, but obviously we don't have a lot of answers. So, but again, for the Big Ten, obviously, Penn State, it took them a long time to find their coach. They finally got Matt Campbell this week. Now Michigan, one of the most vaunted jobs in all of college football, is open. So
yeah, and Sharon Moore has done an okay job there, right? But I think most Michigan fans would say that the expectation level has, well, it's always there at Michigan, but it even, rose up back to being kind of, we expect to be in the playoff. We expect to be, competing for a national championship with the way that Jim Harbaugh left that program, after winning a national title.
Right.
And they promoted from within with Sharon Moore. And again, I don't think he's been a bad head coach when it comes to the on-the-field stuff, but the expectations might be a little higher there. And so this next hire from Michigan will be an important one. It's a tough spot for them because they're getting in late in the game here, and unless they can kind of convince somebody else to leave their current job somewhere else, or find an unexpected name that maybe we haven't heard about yet or not anticipating. There's always the John Grudens or the Nick Sabans of the world.
Urban Meyer.
That would be the home run hires that I think everybody would be okay with. I mean, definitely with Saban and Meyer, I think the jury would be out a little bit on Gruden, but we would see what he could do. And I'm not saying that he's a candidate for the job. Just he seems to get thrown out there with any one of these openings. And, Penn State was kind of an interesting case study here because they got rid of a coach who was a winner, but he just didn't win the biggest of games. And then Penn State struggled to find a new head coach. And I sent you a text a little bit ago when Matt Campbell was hired by Penn State, basically saying, hey, there's no way that when Penn State, fired James Franklin, that they thought they would end up with Matt Campbell.
No question.
Having said that, Matt Campbell's a good head coach, done a good job at Iowa State, but he's had problems sometimes winning the big one. Now he's at Iowa State, doesn't have the same kind of resources, financial backing, alumni support, everything, fan base that Penn State has. But sometimes the grass isn't always greener when you decide to get rid of coaches. Now, in this case, it sounds like there are other factors in play as far as Sharon Moore being out, but it'll be interesting to see what kind of coach Michigan is able to get and who are some of the candidates that materialize.
Yeah, and like you said, the whole calendar issue. We just got through National Signing Day, and now we're getting ready to go transfer portal during the bowl season. So Ward Manuel, the AD at Michigan, he's got his hands full there. He's gonna have to work quickly.
Yeah, and I don't think the fan base necessarily, at Michigan would be that shocked, for them to eventually move on from Sharon Moore. But, for it to happen in this way, I think is a little jarring.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about another head coach who had a nice press conference on Monday. Our old friend Tim Skipper, former Bulldog player, former Bulldog assistant, former interim head coach, former interim head coach at UCLA. He gets the Cal Poly job. Angelique Martinez and Kevin Mahan went down there on Monday talking about how amazing it was and how, such a great guy, like you said, thanking us for coming from Fresno. And, oh, man, I'm so excited for this one. I really am. What are your thoughts on Skip?
Well, it's funny because, they talk about winning the press conference all the time as a new head coach. And you need to do more than just win the press conference. You remember Dan Campbell infamously had that line about biting kneecaps and all that stuff.
Yes.
And some other guys, I think why is his name escaping me right now? The Bears head coach Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, yeah.
A little awkward here and there, like in his opening press conference. But those guys have turned out to be, obviously, it looks at least, to be incredible head coaches in the NFL. When it comes to Tim Skipper, he's going to win the press conference every time because the guy is just so genuine. His passion, for the sport of football, for Fresno State, and for just coaching football in general and playing football, it always comes across. And so I think Cal Poly hit a home run here.
Me too.
With this hire with Skip and
his experience level. I mean, he's got so much experience. Maybe not as a head coach, but he's got so much coaching experience. These days, you see a lot of guys who have no coaching experience get head jobs in different places because maybe they have a gold jacket or because they've been a quality control analyst. This guy has been from the ground level up, from GA to linebackers coach to interim head coach.
I'll use an example.
I'm so excited for him.
Stephen Comstock, who comes on, a former Bulldog football player, right, from I think 2019 to 2023. Yeah. He's an analyst on Bulldog Insider for us. He tells this story all the time, that when Tim Skipper took over for the New Mexico Bowl at the end of the 2023 season, when Jeff Tedford was unable to coach that game, and Skipper was the acting head coach, Comstock, he wasn't his position coach. He was a defensive coach, but he wasn't his position coach. But Skip comes into that first, meeting as the acting head coach, and he says after his speech, like, Comstock was ready to run through a wall, right? For this guy. And so that's not going to be an issue. So what is going to be, what are some areas where you think like Skip's going to have to maybe kind of raise his game a little bit, because he still only went 6-7 in the end at Fresno State in his 1 year leading the team, right? Had some nice moments, but eventually I think there was some close games that they lost that season. I think Skip's the type of guy, like from a big picture motivator, CEO type will be fantastic, right? I think it's going to be important for him to get the right guys in there, though, offensive coordinator
he needs the right coaches, for sure. He needs guys, veteran guys who have a lot of experience that he can hang his hat on. Not yes men. People that are going to say, no, Tim, we shouldn't do it this way. We need to do it this way. That's just my opinion with a rookie kind of young coach that way from a head coaching standpoint. But recruiting wise, he's going to hit the ground running. He's got so many connections in the state. He's going to bring in his kind of player. He's got resources at that school. I don't know if you see, they just built a brand new facility, on the south side of the stadium. So I'm excited. I'm just excited he got a chance, Well,
here's the thing, too, is that at Fresno State, it may have worked out with Tim Skipper, right? I mean, Matt Entz had a good season this year. We're going forward with Matt Entz as the coach. He's definitely a culture builder, a program builder. That's clear at this point. And so I think Fresno State has a good man in charge. But, you give Tim Skipper a little more time, he may have been able to get it going at Fresno State as well. And I think that's the key, too, with landing a job at a place like Cal Poly. It's not going to be too reactionary. It's not like he's going to be taking the USC job or the UCLA job where one or two bad seasons and you're out of there, right? If you're a coach like Tim Skipper, in the sense where you're a little bit unproven, in this regard.
Of course.
Cal Poly's going to be, they're going to have time. I think they're going to give him time. I think he signed a 5-year contract. It's an FCS program, right? And so it's a great place to live. I mean, there's so many things. Probably an easy place to recruit to for some kind of borderline marginal guys, right? Yeah. But that's the key. Like, I think if you give him time, he will really, kind of grow into this role. I mean, I still think he would probably tell you he's still learning a little bit about how to be a head coach, even after, the experience that he got at Fresno State and at UCLA. But now he's the man. He's the guy, and everything's falling on his shoulders.
The Central Valley, we might see him again. I'm just saying, if that guy runs, maybe 8 or 9 wins for a couple years, you never know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, you never know.
With that being said, let's come in hot. All right, guys, I got a real treat for you here at this point. I got Professor Scott Bemis. He doesn't have his whiteboard.
I wish I had a hat or something.
He doesn't have his glasses on today, but I mean, he doesn't have his chalkboard. But he's going to give us an idea on the group of 5, a good idea maybe if we do expand the playoff. What is your idea with the group of 5 system to get them into the CFP? What is your thoughts,
all right,
Professor?
Yeah, coming in hot here, hot take, hot idea, hot topics, whatever. All right, so I was just in a conversation with a couple guys here at work the other day, and I started spitballing something, and it sort of started making a lot of sense to me, And what my idea is, Dean, you've talked about expanding the playoff a little bit.
Yes, sir.
I'm fine with the way it is right now.
I know you are.
At 12, but if they want to go up a couple more, fine. I wouldn't I wouldn't have a huge problem with
that. Yeah.
So 2 Group of 5 teams got in this season.
They did,
right?
Based on the rules.
Yeah, based on the rules. And so I still like having access for Group of 5 programs. I think that's an important part of the playoff process. I think every school in the country should have an opportunity, or should at least go into the season thinking they have an opportunity to get into the playoff. So here's my thought.
Okay.
There's 6 Group of 5 conferences.
Yes, there are.
There are 4 Power 4 conferences at this point.
Right.
You take those 6 Group of 5 conference winners, and instead of playing in conference championship games in the final week of the season for them, you determine their conference champion from the regular season somehow, however you want to do it, however the conference wants to determine it.
Okay.
And then those 6 conference champions play into a, play in for the playoff. Just do a 2-week deal, right? You seed them 1 through 6. The bottom 4 seeds play the first week to eliminate 2 of them. And then those winners play the 1 and 2 seeds. And the 2 winners there get bids into the playoff. This, again, is if the playoff gets expanded. Under the current format, I don't think you should have 2 Group of 5s.
Got it.
But if you go to 16,
yeah.
And it encourages hey, every conference champion is going to have an opportunity, no matter what conference you're in, whether it's Power 4, Group of 5, will have an opportunity. Hey, you play the first week of it, last week, instead of the conference championship, and then this week you play the second
playoff
round.
game number 1. Let's just say, yeah. Really quick on the 2 teams that get buys. Is there a committee that decides those? Computers decide those? Who gets the 2 buys in those 6?
You've got the infrastructure of the College Football Playoff Committee, which I think on the whole is still doing a fine job. I don't have a huge issue with what they're doing, or even having a committee with the way that college football is set up at this point. But we're trying to get more and more. I think everybody would agree, the more that we can decide things on the field in general is a better way to approach it. And so you see them 1 through 6 based on some sort of ranking.
Okay, that's
whether
fine.
It's a playoff ranking or this and that. But the cool part is they're playing their way in. They're not just being chosen, or somebody's not determining that you're not, you're a better team than this other team. You're actually having to play your way into the playoff.
I like it. All right, let's get to our second point here. So with the NFL, we're kind of in the flex window right now of where we can change games out and try to go with something more attractive. How do we not flex out Vikings Cowboys? I mean, especially the Vikings, they're so terrible. The Cowboys are so hit and miss. How do we not flex out? We've got some other great games. What do we got?
There's a million great games this week.
We got Bills, Pats, Packers, Broncos, Lions, Rams, and we get Vikings Cowboys. Scotty, how does that happen?
Well, this is a good topic because we both came up with the same thing without talking to each other, that this is ridiculous.
I couldn't agree more.
The Cowboys. I remember my rant when I went on about, was it the Giants being on primetime games and how please make it stop, all this stuff.
Yes.
I can't watch any more Cowboys football in primetime games. I get it. They have a huge fan base out there. They're not even that, they're a pretty entertaining watch, I agree, but hosting the Vikings, on a Sunday night game at this point in the season where, like you said, if there was no other good games going on, there were a bunch of teams on bye weeks, but no. You got some super high-profile games, and yet we're stuck with the Vikings.
Yes.
I would also argue the Monday night game, Dolphins at Steelers.
No.
Look, I wanted to watch Aaron Rodgers 15 years ago. I'm okay with not watching him right now.
Yes, I agree.
Let's be a little bit more liberal with the flexing, and sometimes I think they're a little bit too prisoner of just getting the most possible eyeballs on a game. How can we get them? And obviously, Cowboys, the Cowboy Nation is strong. There's Cowboy fans everywhere. And so
there's a lot of Vikings
still going to be a ton.
They're terrible.
There's still going to be a ton of people that watch this game. And maybe the most eyeballs would be on that because the Cowboys are involved. But I think the NFL is so powerful and people watch no matter what so much now.
Agreed.
That let's give the viewers the best game.
Yes.
Let's give them I would love to see Bills Patriots in that spot.
I totally agree.
Lions Rams.
Hell yeah. Packers,
even Colts Seahawks with what's going on there with Phillip Rivers and all that stuff.
Phillip Rivers' first start. Oh my God, that'd be crazy at 44 years old or whatever he is. So anyway, all right, well, we'll digress. Let's just really quick get into this. Heisman Trophy weekend. Obviously, Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback, former Cal quarterback, is the huge favorite. Diego Pavia. It looks like it's going to be Mendoza, obviously. Unfortunately, we did not take Mendoza when we were in Kansas. When we were in Kansas for the Fresno State game, he was one of the few you didn't touch. But your thoughts on Fernando Mendoza?
I went into this on our last show, but I think he locked up the Heisman with that second half performance against Ohio State.
Yeah.
He was probably the leader in the clubhouse headed into that game, and unless Julian Sayin totally outperformed him, that he was probably still going to be the leader, like a pretty small leader maybe over Pavia. And I could see if, like I mentioned, if it was a 6-3 game in the end and Indiana lost, 6-3 or won 6-3, and it wasn't really because of Mendoza, then I could see maybe Pavia having an argument there, because he is an exciting player, and even though love him or hate him,
Mendoza's a -1,000 on the line, and the next closest is Pavia at 600 plus 600.
Well, apparently I heard somebody say that the minute he threw that long third down conversion in the Big Ten championship game in the second half, that his odds went from 2-1 to 20-1 or something like that at that moment, something like that. I don't know. And he came up big in the big moment there, and he's been good all year. And so I have no problem with it. I think he's he looks like a really good quarterback, and it was the first time
a great interview.
I really got to see his personality in that interview as well.
I'm excited to see his speech, because I already know it's going to be legendary. Right. I really do. He's such a good public speaker too. He's very emotional. Very passionate, so it's very, very cool. So, all right, we got 2 games this weekend. On the college side, we got to just touch on really quick. Obviously, Army-Navy, every year, the tradition. And then we got Washington and Boise in Los Angeles playing in the LA Bowl. So let's start with Boise and Washington, since we are Mountain West guys. What are your thoughts on this game, Scotty?
Well, it's kind of interesting, right, that they're playing a bowl game this quickly. I like it, Dean. Give me that football quickly.
Well, the exciting thing normally for teams is you get 14 practices when it comes to bowl games. These teams got 1.5. They get maybe 2. Everyone else gets 14. You get to get your young guys in. Washington and Boise are go out there and play. And that's it. So what are your thoughts on the game?
I think Boise... I would kind of lean Boise with the point spread here, just because
about 10.
They're getting 10. Little tease there. There might be a Boise link to money plays here.
All right.
We might get a little creative with that game.
Okay.
But I think Boise's overall, power rating, whatever you want to call it, the way that they're viewed is based on the fact that they, that Maddox Matson missed some time.
Right.
But they're a different team with him back in there.
That's true.
Max Cutford did a serviceable job, I think, in getting them into the Mountain West Championship game. But you saw against UNLV, when they have Matson back, kind of a different team.
They are.
Motivation is not going to be an issue for a team like Boise in this game. They're going to be ready to go. So is Washington, by the way. I think one thing about this happening so quickly after the end of the regular season, for Washington, it probably doesn't allow enough time for guys to opt out, right? It's hey, it's almost like an extension of the regular season.
Yeah.
So you're probably not going to see a ton of opt-outs in this game. So it should be a pretty entertaining game, because I think you're going to be seeing both these teams relatively at full strength for this game.
How interested will Washington be to play this game as a Big Ten member against a Mountain West school? Their head coach is a possibility for Michigan. He is one of the 5 candidates I have seen mentioned, at least outright. It should be a heck of a game. Getting to Army-Navy real quick, that Navy team's really, really good. It's about a 6-point spread. The under on this game usually bangs pretty hard, so you might see a play from me on this game a little later. What are your thoughts really quick? I mean, it's just such a great pageantry game, Army-Navy.
I love it.
How the winner gets the fight song last and all that good stuff, and, it's very, very cool.
I try to make a point, if I can, of watching at least a half of the Army-Navy football game, because it's like a flashback to 1950s football, first off. Going with the triple option on both sides, and you see when you have one triple option team going up against another triple option team, it's not as easy for them to move the ball as it is for against other teams.
It's in cold weather tradition. You got petticoats everywhere. You've got everyone in uniform. Sometimes the president's there. It's going to be cool. I'm just excited. I'm very excited. Not just we get Army-Navy, we also get this one bowl game too. And then bowl week starts next Tuesday for a lot of other teams, which we'll talk about. All right, 3 to see in the NFL really quick. So we kind of touched on it. We got 4 good games this weekend, 3 really good ones. Bills at Pats. The Patriots are 11-2. Drake May's been rolling. Now you got Buffalo coming in. I'm not sure on the weather. I haven't looked at it, but normally it's going to be cold and blustery.
I took a quick look at the weather.
Nice.
There's a slight chance of snow. It's going to be cold, but not ridiculously cold.
All right, so that means, Another game I want to mention really quick, too, is the who are the Browns playing this week?
Bears.
The Bears. -20 is what the wind chill is supposed to be like in Chicago, with Shedeur Sanders getting his 3rd start. Yeah,
Holy
-20 wind chill, they're saying in that game. That's not one of the 3 that we're really covering, but Bills, Pats, any thoughts on our own Fireball's own Josh Allen?
Well, they're changing of the guard going on here, because the Pats win this game. They clinch the AFC East title. They break that streak by the Bills. just have a feeling, Dean, don't you, that Buffalo's gonna show up for this
old Josh Allen's not done, Scotty. Old Josh Allen's not done.
It's kind of the sense I get. I don't know. The Patriots got him in that first game in Buffalo.
Yeah.
There's a revenge factor in play here. You see, the Bills are a small favorite.
Yeah.
It's always a little weird when you go, wait, Vegas knows something here. Why are the Bills favored over the Patriots in New England? Yeah, just gotta, whatever it is, I just got this feeling that that Buffalo might show up for this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's gonna be a great game. Patriots at 11-2, fighting for obviously the bye at this point. Drake May's been having a record-breaking year. I just really like what they're doing. I like what their running game, their passing game, their defense really good with Spillane. So it's an exciting game. Packers at Broncos. Broncos are 11-2 as well, Scott. We keep talking about that New York Giants game where they came back from the dead on that game, and ever since they've been kind of a juggernaut, right? So now you've got the Packers coming in who beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. Really good, solid team. Jordan Love having a really good season, I think. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I'd love to see this game in the Sunday night spot.
There you go. Touche, by the way.
Yeah.
Or 2 Monday night games like we always talk about as well, one or the other. So
exactly.
Yeah, go for it.
Jordan Love playing at a high level. Been really impressed with him the last few weeks, especially in that Lions game on Thanksgiving. I mean, the windows were not very big in that game. Some great plays by the receivers in that game as well. Yeah. But yeah, kind of fun to see a Bakersfield guy like that, Jordan Love.
Yes.
Excelling like he is, and I think he's really kind of growing into that role finally as the franchise guy there.
Absolutely.
With the Packers. This will be a tough one here. Going into Denver, never easy, especially against that defense.
Yeah, we'll see what the weather's like there too. That's another thing. You never know.
They're a road favorite in this game.
Wow. All right. Lions at Rams. So again, Rams, coming off the big win at Arizona. The Lions, just hit or miss kind of, but very dangerous team. Really solid running game. Gibbs has just been running like crazy. St. Brown's been kind of hurt. Goff hit or miss. Now Goff comes back to SoFi for the second time to play his old team, the Rams. Matthew Stafford playing his old team, the Lions. The Rams really need to win this game just to keep pace with the Seahawks, because the Seahawks are like head and shoulders right now playing great football. So your thoughts on Rams versus Lions?
Indoors here, right?
Yeah.
In LA, which I think always helps a team like the Lions. With Jared Goff, they seem to sometimes in cold weather, struggle a little bit, kind of like the Dolphins sometimes. And so I expect some points to be scored in that game, right? I mean, you got two quarterbacks who play at a high level, especially Matthew Stafford this year.
Yes.
The Lions, like every game's a playoff game for the Lions.
It really is.
After losing that game to Green Bay, the NFC's tough.
Right.
The NFC's tough.
Look at the Bears. They went from the 1 seed to like the 5 seed by losing one game. That's how close it is. So the Rams have to be in that same boat. They have to go to Seattle, I believe, next weekend as well. So you can't look ahead to Seattle, but you can't also forget about Detroit here. So
right.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that game, last week, 2 weeks ago, in Carolina was kind of a wake up call for the Rams. That hey,
agreed.
We can't just show up, and win games, and every win's going to be huge here because of the type of pedigree that exists there in the NFC, like we're talked about.
Totally.
I mean, there's a lot of good teams there, a lot of good teams in our division with the Niners and the Seahawks.
Yes.
So there's going to be a real sense of urgency for both teams in that game on Sunday. The Lions haven't really been able to get like a marquee win other than, I thought early in the season at Baltimore was that game.
Right.
But Baltimore has kind of been shown to be a little bit of a fraud as far as being one of the elite teams in the league this year.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that the Lions really haven't shown an ability to win against the best in the NFL, I would lean Rams.
Yeah, I agree. About 5.5 point spread on this one. I expect our own Fresno State's Devontae Adams to have another big game. He's having a great year catching touchdown passes. Let's get to your honorable mention game really quick because we don't want to forget about this one really quick. So you got the Seahawks still a 2-touchdown favorite over, 44-year-old? Phillip Rivers going to get the start, it looks like, for Baltimore.
Is he going to get the start?
Well, it's up in the air, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, supposedly if Riley Leonard is healthy enough,
then he's going to go?
He's going to
So he might not play then.
But I don't know if Riley Leonard's going to be healthy enough.
Right.
But
the Colts signed
they've also got what? Brett Rippon on the roster,
boy.
I believe,
Dear Lord.
as well. I mean, What a story that would be, though, if Rivers.
I feel so bad for Daniel Jones, though. I mean, honestly, he was having such a good year. It's just such a shame, you know. I mean, I feel bad for all these guys who get hurt, but Daniel Jones, especially after all the criticism he got in New York with the Giants and then came out, was having a great year. You know, watching the tears from him the other day, just horrible. But it's going to be an interesting game. The Seahawks can't overlook the Colts, too, you know, with Jonathan Taylor in that running game, too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah, just to kind of build on your Daniel Jones point there. I mean, I think sometimes we take for granted athletes, the type of toughness that they display, and the kind of the warrior mentality of going out there.
Sure.
The fact that Daniel Jones was out there playing, you know, last week, and really maybe he shouldn't have been playing in the end.
Maybe
right?
not.
You know, kind of like the whole Kevin Durant thing when he tore the Achilles. You know, like sometimes I think your body kind of compensates in ways when you're dealing and you have to do things you don't normally do, and then sometimes that leads to bigger problems.
But as an athlete, you're always going to press.
Oh, they always want to play.
You want to play.
They want to play.
And I respect that, and I love that. But yeah, sometimes it could be detrimental for sure. Should be a good game though. Big spread. You know, some big spreads this weekend. So as a bettor,
I would be very hesitant to lay the 13 with the Seahawks. They're just no matter who's playing quarterback for the Colts, it's still a team that, you know, showed an ability to win games earlier this year.
They've got weapons still. They still have receivers that can catch the ball. All right, speaking of betting, let's get into our money plays. All right, Scotty, it's neck and neck right now for you and me. You have the lead currently. You're still on the tee box.
Okay.
934.30. You tried this teaser. It was a heartbreaker. Unfortunately, you lost by half a point. You were up, it looks like about $6 on yours truly. I hit 2. Luckily, that college basketball money line parlay kind of saved me with the 4 favorites. Otherwise, you know, just some disappointing stuff there. But yeah, here's your teaser again. Ohio State ended up losing by 8 in that game. Clemson easily covered the 9.5. So we're gonna fire another teaser out. So we got a couple, and we've also got we both shared that play on the Falcons Bucks, by the way.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
I've become like teaser happy here, I guess.
Like it.
And so I'm gonna throw a 2-team 7-point teaser together
there
here.
You
go. You know, and lay some juice there of -150. I'm gonna bump Boise State up from 10 to 17, and then I'm also going to take Army from 6 to 13 in that Army Navy game. So the thinking here is I think 10 is a lot to begin with, you know, with Boise, but you never know. Washington with their quarterback, they got some talent, you know, that power forward talent, all that stuff. I just want to protect myself against maybe like a late score by Washington, you know, making it a 2-score game. So I'm going to bump that up to 17 with Boise. And then Army Navy, when you have a total as low as this has been over the years, I mean, this is traditionally a super low scoring game.
You're going to see a play from me on that in just a second.
And so to me, if you can bump it up over 10 and get like 13 in this game, and I'm going to go a little bigger bet there, try to get me back over that $1,000 threshold, which we start every month with in fictitious money. Then Falcons Bucks, like you mentioned, the Bucks are getting receivers back this week. They're getting Mike Evans back, the Fresno native.
Jalen McMillan
should be back.
Yeah, San Joaquin Memorial, baby.
I think the weather looks pretty good there in Tampa.
It's supposed to be sunny.
Yeah, and so 43.5 just feels like a low number for a Bucks offense, right, against anybody. So 46 to 140 there, and then I'm also going to do a 2-team 6-point NFL teaser here. Lay some juice. It's not the greatest juice to be laying on a 6-point teaser, to be honest, but DraftKings doesn't do us any favors there. But I'm going to take the Bears down to -1.5, although I'm a little nervous about you telling me that it's going to be -20 wind
chill. Yeah.
Although I will say this, the Bears have been running the football.
Yeah, they have.
They've been running the football well, and so that should play in there, right?
Yeah.
And then basically all I need is the Broncos, or the Broncos take them up over a touchdown at home.
All right. So anyway, Falcons Bucks again over 43.5 here. I also bought the Bucks down to -2.5 tonight. So I have them winning by a field goal, you know, and being safe there. Got a little money line parlay, basketball, Celtics, Rockets, Nuggets. I got a college basketball with some spread in there. Got a hockey play in there, and then give me Navy -6 against Army. I just think they're the better squad. And then give me Army Navy under 38.5. That game normally goes under. Couple other plays. But anyway, we got about 15 seconds. Anything before we go, Scott?
Yeah, just you talk about the Army Navy under. I don't have the stat in front of me, but there was finally went over last year, I think.
It did,
but until that point, it had been like
low.
20 in a row or something like that.
Scotty and I will be back on Monday. We'll have more plays. Thanks for watching. This has been the Beem and Dean Show.